After a few very unforgiving weeks of weather, we're finally seeing the pattern change as we move into the month of October. This week, though, has some changes of its own that are going to make things interesting. Many of us will see frost. Some will see snow. But one thing for sure, fall weather is making its presence known, and it's going to be getting colder where you live. Wanted to start off this video with some good news, and you can see it on your screen right here. It's that the Atlantic is quite quiet, and we only have one area of interest, and in fact, it's an area that we've been losing interest in. It's well out in the Atlantic, too. Now, I wanted to dispel a rumor, and it's that Nadine is going to form and hit Florida this week. Well, you can see pretty clearly for yourself here. That's extremely unlikely. And while there are some areas that I'm sure we're going to need to monitor as we head later into this week, for now, we can breathe a sigh of relief as our tropics stay quiet for what appears to be at least the next 7 days. Now to our main story here, those temperatures, and boy are they going to fluctuate this week. We're going to start with the beginning of the week. You can see this trough keeping colder weather in the northeast, and that's going to spread out to the eastern U.S. Meanwhile, we have a ridge that extends pretty well through the western U.S. at the beginning of the week. We'll move this into the middle of the week here, and there's their colder air mass spreading out across the east coast and still taking up a chunk of the eastern U.S. But that warmer air, those orange colors, they begin to shift to the east through the week, so it's a progressive pattern. And notice how tight those black lines are together. We call them isobars. When they're packed tightly, that means we're expecting windier weather and some storm systems, and we will see those. Late in the week here, you can see a pattern totally flips now. Western U.S., that's when you get your taste of fall-like weather. Eastern U.S., you may revert back to September for a little bit here. And as we head into the weekend, it does seem like our pattern becomes a bit more zonal, which basically means we're more or less going to be closer to average here, but certainly a taste of fall everywhere. And that could mean some snow for some areas. But before we get there, I want to take a look at some of those storm systems I mentioned because we have a chance to see quite a few of them. Nothing looks particularly dangerous, but they will be impactful. And we start in the northeast. You can see that low pressure system out there as we begin the week here on Monday. That could bring some snow to the mountains out in northern New England. And for the rest of the region, at least some heavier rain mixed in. Meanwhile, the central U.S., pretty dry, pretty warm. And we head to the middle of the week. We're going to see our storm system on the northeast sort of linger, but really weaken a lot. But look towards the west coast now. Here we are on Wednesday. Our new system is brewing in the Pacific Northwest, and you're going to see that develop as we get into the later days of this week, really in the Rockies. And while you're not seeing a ton yet, you're going to want to watch this area. Also note the blue colors in the Rockies. It's actually snow falling in the mountains and a lot of wind out here, again, where you're seeing those isobars, those black lines packed tight together. Meanwhile, totally flip on the East Coast, high pressure keeping things dry towards the end of the week and into the weekend out there. But there's our system developing. Could be a pretty good snowfall for the Rocky Mountains, and there is a chance for some storms to develop here in the plains and across the Midwest as we get into the weekend. So while it isn't going to be, like I said, any significantly dangerous weather, there will be some impactful weather mixed in there, certainly some rain, and we're going to keep that train of active weather at least in the Northwest. This is towards the end of the weekend next week. Of course, some uncertainty with exactly how that system develops, but it gives you the idea. We are going to see an active pattern, temperature swings, and a few storm systems, nothing major, but quick hitters drifting through the area. Now, we can also look at our temperature anomalies, and that is going to be a big piece. That's our PWAT anomalies. We can look at our temperature anomalies. That's going to be a big piece, of course, of the weather. And we can just put into context, again, those air masses we were looking at. So we'll zoom through this real quick. You can see the blue colors in the eastern U.S. That's Monday. Orange colors in the western U.S. here as we head into Tuesday. You can probably assume what they mean. Warmer than average weather, colder than average weather. Here we are Tuesday. And then Wednesday as well, still much colder in the eastern U.S. Western U.S., quite warm. Then that ridge shifts east, and you can see here Thursday and now Friday and into the weekend, that warmer air eventually reaches the eastern U.S. With that storm system we were talking about too, should keep temperatures colder than average in the lower Rockies and into the southern plains as we get into the end of the weekend here. Also wanted to show you the actual temps. We're actually going to go back to tropical tidbits for that because we can see more clearly our freezing line. So I'm going to open us up to, we'll take a look at the Euro for this. I've actually liked what it's been spitting out recently quite a bit. So those blue colors will indicate for us the temperatures that are sub-freezing. So that's where we may see some frost and even some snow in the mountains. And again, we'll start here on Monday. And here we are. Monday, obviously, we're not going to see much during the daytime, but at night, there are those colors emerging. You're going to see a lot more as we head through the middle of the week, especially in the Northeast. Not a ton here, but some of those blues popping up. The euro, I believe, is a little conservative if you're looking at this run in particular. But certainly, I do expect we're going to see a larger expanse of those temperatures at or even below freezing out there. Regardless, you get the point with this. Certainly in the mountains in the west, we have temperatures that'll be below freezing, cold enough for snow, cold enough for frost, and even some of these lighter green colors, like I said, that you're seeing out here in the northeast, those are going to be 30s regardless, and good enough for some frost in those areas. Actually, here we are Friday morning, certainly looking like one of the colder ones. You can see areas popping up all the way down through the Appalachian Mountains where we may see some frost and even a hard freeze as possible. Get into the weekend and everything shifts a bit. Look at that abundantly cold air in the mountains. Get cold enough for some snow. And here we are Sunday. Again, that colder air remains. But like I said, snow is something we got to keep an eye on in the mountains. So we'll take a quick look at that and talk about, I don't know if ski season's getting started early, but where ski resorts may be happy to see some of the powder falling. And now it's where we may see some snow in the mountains. Always kind of exciting. While most of the lower terrain, almost none of it will see snow, that is going to be a different case for the mountains. And here we are on Wednesday, and you can see that already popping up in the northeast out here. Those darker blue colors indicate where you may see in excess of 3 inches. And of course, you can see that in the Adirondacks and in the higher mountains and terrain in the northeast. But watch what happens as we get into the west. You can see across the Rockies out there, that's a pretty good snowfall for many of those mountains late in the week as the fall air mass takes over out there. I think where you're seeing some of those pink colors, that indicates where you may have a foot, and you can see that all up and down the Rocky Mountains. Even some of the mountains in higher terrain in Arizona and New Mexico could see a little bit of snow out here. So, while it doesn't impact too much, it is a sign that we're getting into that time of year, and as more snow falls, more and more ski resorts will open. Actually, I'm sure some in the Rockies are opening up here. But of course, we will wait until later in the month for it to really become, open season for that stuff. But still, sign that fall is on the way, and if you like snow, we're going to be watching this a lot closer as we head into winter. Now, we're going to keep this video a bit shorter because the weather is quieter, but we'll take a look at our fall foliage here before we wrap things up. Now to our fall foliage map. This is what's expected for Monday, and this is going to be the best week in terms of color we've seen all year, and you can see why. And while many of our mountains are past their peak, that's where you're seeing those brown colors, you really have still a lot of color in the mountains out west here, and across the northern plains, across the northern Midwest out here, even through the Appalachian Mountains and into New England. Plenty of color showing up as we get lower down the terrain, and this means more color for more people to see. So really becoming a really bright and colorful week. You can see we even have moderate colors stretching down into Indiana, Illinois, even northern Missouri and Kansas, and even in the Appalachian Mountains down to Georgia, in fact. We'll move this forward one more week, too, just so you can see what's up here. And by the time we get to late October, a lot of those areas that are seeing peak color right now will be past peak, but this is likely going to be one of our best weeks, as you can see, across the country once we get into next week at least. As you can see, bigger cities like Chicago, New York, Boston are getting very, very close to their peak color, and we're only going to see it continue to improve from here. In fact, we'll move this forward a little more. This is by late October. We're kind of getting past the best of fall at this point, and you can see there is still areas that'll be peaking farther south, but get outside this week, get outside next week. Again, this is a look at next week. Should be the best week of the year. And remember, this week with a lot of that wind, it's just a reminder that this time of year we lose leaves a bit faster as those patterns become more active. So we haven't seen too much. It's not enough to concern me with losing our leaves too quickly, but it's just a reminder that the season has a shorter window, so get outside and enjoy it as we look forward to some nicer weather to perhaps get out and experience nature in. So with that, we'll wrap things up. We'll keep this one a little quicker. Happy to say the weather is quieter this week. It's a very typical fall-like week. We have those the more progressive pattern, and certainly we have some temperature swings to look at too. Snow in the mountains, first frost for many, bright fall colors. This is if you like fall, this is everything right here. College football weather really becoming more of a thing to think about for tailgates with those cooler temps and some of the windier weather. Hockey season's back, so we don't have any frozen ponds yet, but we're getting there as we head towards winter. Honestly, I'm smiling because I love the weather. I actually don't like fall. It's my fourth favorite season, but we are looking forward to winter, and I can get excited for that. So mountain snow is keeping me moving, And it's nice to see that at least our weather is quieting down. Just wanted to say for everyone who's been impacted by hurricanes, whether it's in Florida or the Carolinas or elsewhere, we're thinking of you, and we're hoping for a quick recovery. This fall hasn't been easy so far weather-wise. Certainly, 2 major hurricane landfalls 2 weeks apart is pretty unprecedented. But I am happy to say at least we do have a quieter week. So we'll look forward to the good things this week, and we'll hope for a quicker recovery where our weather has not been quite as forgiving. Anyway, we'll be back here next Sunday. Make sure to like and follow or subscribe, whatever it is, to YouTube. And stay tuned for more weather updates. We'll see you back here again.